is I'm on my way east. I'm heading into, I'm going to be coming by Brookside, Alabama, by Arkansas, even going up to Ohio before I'm going to stop in Texas here for a couple days, and I'm driving. But there's a couple things, and I'm a genuine person, so I'm not going to pretend as though I'm a weeping willow or I'm a soft ass. I'm not. I'm a hardcore guy. And so there's the first thing. When I speak to you about your story, I've been talking to people on the phone whose stories I'm going to cover over here on the east side of America. And so there's one thing that I'm finding in all people's stories. How you guys doing? Good to see everybody. I can't see because my glasses aren't on, so hit the number 1 button. Let me know what city and state you're from. But the first thing I want to talk about is you not talking to the police. The people I'm going to help right now, the people who I'm going to help them with their cases, and there's and by the way, Ohio is just packed full of civil rights violations. I don't want you guys to talk to cops. There's one thing I'm hearing from people when I talk to them on the phone about their case. They're talking to cops. You pull out either my Trifold or you pull out a little card on it that says, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Every case who I'm going to help them right now, I'm on my way to help people. There is a back and forth with the police that does not serve the people who now I'm going to help them with their case, with exposure, and to be an advocate on their behalf. Do not talk to cops. Don't speak to them. Once they, how you doing, officer? Doing good. How you doing? Do you know why I pulled you over? Officer, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent. Well, I'm going to impound your car. You've already said it. You no longer have to speak. Indicate. I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. What is the ubiquitous on all the cases I'm going to help? They're talking to cops. Okay. So whether you use my Trifold, which I want you guys to get my Trifold, I've given away hundreds of them. I want you guys to not talk to cops. You can get my Trifold on DeleteLawZ. Okay, there you go. So now the second thing is when I talk to you on the phone, I'll put my glasses on just so I can see a couple of the comments here. When I talk to you on the phone and I call you up to help you with your story, okay, I need a chronological story from you. I need, here's what happened first, and then you can't jump ahead to the court case. I'm thinking about your case in an analytical sense. So when I'm talking about your case with you and you've been cheated by the cops and now you're facing multiple charges, I need your story when you talk to me on the phone, because if I get your email and I think that there's a civil rights violation in your email, I will call you on the phone and say, let's go down the process so you can file civil litigation, because more people have to file civil litigation for their rights being violated. It's imperative that we all file civil litigation, a federal lawsuit in federal district court for your rights being violated. How you guys doing? Good to see everybody. So now when I call you to get your story and I say, hey, what happened first? We're starting with the pullover or the interaction with the cop, the very first thing that happens. And then I'm going to ask you, now what happened next? Okay? What I need from you is the exact thing that happened next. Not, and then my mom talked to my uncle on the phone. No, I need to know exactly what happened next in your case of this specific incident, because I'm thinking about it in a very analytical way to make sure that you have a right to file litigation as your advocate, as someone who's going to speak for you on your behalf. And there's a good chance that your story wasn't told properly, and that's not your fault. It's hard. So I just want to be clear. If you have a case where your rights have been violated and you want me to help you, and I get your email and I read every email, and when I see your email and then I call you on the phone, the process is chronological order by time, because we'll start with where the cops first entered into your life, and then what happened after the initial pullover, and then when he came up to the window, and then what was said, and then what happened next, and then what happened after that. And we'll go through every single step of your stop, every single step of your interaction with that cop. And then what happened next, And so I'll ask you, and then what happened after that? And what I need you guys to do, if it's happened to you, and I'm sorry it happened to you. And when I talk to people, they want to tell me how they feel. I'm not the jury. You tell the jury how you feel. I'm the guy writing down the facts to find out if you have a federal lawsuit against the police who violated your rights. So I need you just to stay super particular about the facts, right? Because I'll stop you and I'll say, no, stop. I understand your feelings were hurt or you were in pain, but what I need to know is what happened next. After you were put in handcuffs, you tell me it hurts, I understand that, and I was so upset, okay, I understand that, and I was crying, okay, I understand that, but then what happened after they put the cuffs on you? What was the next thing that happened? And you know, I record all my phone calls, so the call's being recorded. I'll tell you in advance, the call's being recorded, but I just need the steps of what happened to you, the physical steps of what happened to you. That's what I need to hear from you. I'm on my way to Texas now. I should be in Texas tonight. I should arrive in Texas tonight. So this is something that I've been dealing with now since I started. Ironically, only the last few weeks where I'm helping people with their cases, but I just need the step by step. Okay, I've said it 15 times. I don't know how many more times I can say it. It's just because what will happen is I'll get frustrated because I'll say, okay, uh, Tina, because no one I'm helping is named Tina. I'll say, okay, Tina. And then what happened next? And she'll go, and that deputy used to work with my brother at Safeway. Right. But that's not as relevant as what happened to you right after you were put in the cop car or right after you got to the hospital. And then after you left the hospital. And then when you went home. And then when you woke up that morning, the next day, was there any interaction with the police? And what happened next? And what I'm seeing time and time again, what I'm seeing, just so you know, I've talked to 3 different cases. I'm actually going up to Ohio after this. I'm going to go to Texas, Alabama, Arkansas, and then I'm going to shimmy on up to Ohio because there is some really crappy Lawrence County, Franklin County, Ohio, just you want to talk about tyrannical small town old boys, the good old boys club. It is disgusting. The stories I've heard, the 2 different stories from Ohio, there's a 3rd story too that I'm not talking about right now. It is just disgusting what these guys are doing to people. It is nasty. It really is nasty. So it's just super important because what will happen is if you're telling me your story and you get broke down and as you tell your story, it starts to affect you emotionally. And then if you go off course, you'll hear me go, you know, and I start to stammer and then you think I'm being mean or something and I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out what happened. I can give you an example. I was talking to one person about their public defender and about what the public defender did during their case. And then the person jumped ahead in the case. And I said, no. We were still in the second hearing with your public defender. When you informed the public defender of X, what did the public defender do? And then they told me the public defender said, I only want to talk about Y and Z. And so if you take every little detail, then I can tell you if a law has been broken, if they've cheated you, if they haven't done you right. And that's the most important part, is that you start to get a bearing and an understanding of what exactly you're going through as a human being. And by the way, we're seeing it all across the country, that people are being cheated and railroaded. And, you know, I'm still reeling over ASD Docs. ASD Docs of Susan Bassey, the interview with Andre from ASD Docs when he interviewed Susan Bassey. I listened to that, just so you know, I listened to that twice. I had to hear it again to understand that they're inserting private judges, and there's a network now of judges and lawyers who are making 3, 4, 5 times what appointed judges make and what voted judges make because they have a private judge network. And that's on ASD Docs, his channel, and that's under Susan Bassey. You could start that at 23 minutes if you don't want the background of Susan's life, but the background of her life is interesting as well. But the part that I listened to twice was the second hour of that Susan Bassey. And then I didn't know that Britney Spears' Free Britney movement, that the individual citizens who'd bonded together to find out what had happened with that conservatory, I didn't know all that. And Susan Bassey educated me, and I appreciate that. I appreciate Andre for doing that interview. I posted that video in my community. I think 4 or 5 people looked at it, you know. I mean, look, the channel that we have, that you and I share, because the channel that I started is our channel now, because I work for you guys. I'm literally working for the people, and I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. You know, it reminds me of Grover Cleveland. If you guys don't know who the 22nd and the 24th president of the United States, his name was Grover Cleveland. And Grover has one of the most interesting stories in U.S. history, because he was elected president twice with Benjamin Harrison being between him. So he's elected in 1885 to the presidency, and then he's reelected after he loses to Benjamin Harrison in 1893. And it's funny because he's one of the only bachelors to ever be elected at one of 2, I can't remember the other guy's name, and he's one of 2 bachelors to be elected to office. And the reason why he is elected is because of corruption, and give the will of the people the power again. And he takes his job extraordinarily seriously. Grover Cleveland is one of those people in history who, if you really understand Grover Cleveland's story, number one, he's against the Temperance Society. He's against the Prohibition movement. And what he is pushing for is power to the people. And they say that he's this super honest guy, Grover Cleveland, but he's not. And matter of fact, for the investigative journalists, I just mentioned Andre at ASD Docs, and Lackluster over there, he does investigative journalism as well. When you talk about these guys who do the work that they do, Grover Cleveland, he had a tumor in his he had a cancer tumor in his mouth in 1893, and what happens is he has cancer on the roof of his mouth right after he's won re-election for the second time to be president after Benjamin Harrison leaves office. So Grover Cleveland takes office, and they find out within the first few months that he's had office that he's got a cancerous tumor in the roof of his mouth. And he's known for being this. Okay. So he's against the alcohol movement because he's a drinker. He likes to party and have a good time. And so when he's elected, though, to president, and just so you know, I'm only saying the good things about Grover Cleveland, because when you line up the lynching graph with Grover Cleveland's years in president, and you understand that he then appointed a bunch of Democrats in 1885 and 1893, those 2 different terms he has, when he appoints all those presidents, and I know about him because of the lynching graph. The lynching graph, it's the worst time period in U.S. history, the lynchings from 1885 to 1905. That 20-year span right there, and 8 years in office is Grover Cleveland. So I had to research who was in office when all those lynchings were going so terrible, and it was Grover Cleveland. He was a Democrat, and a Democrat before 1885 hadn't been elected into office for, I don't know, 7 terms. 7 different presidents before that were elected who were Republican, that were anti-slavery, pro-freedom. And so when Grover gets in for the first time in 1885, what he does is he appoints a bunch of Democrats to all the government posts. And the lynchings just skyrocket. I mean, skyrocket. It's the worst time in U.S. history for blacks. It's the worst time in U.S. history. And that's what creates the Sullivan Act of 1911. The reason why blacks are moving from rural America up into New York and Baltimore and Chicago is because of the lynchings. And then you can pretty much line that out with understanding that I got a cop up here hiding. I've passed like maybe 30, 40 cops just hiding on the side of the road. It's all through New Mexico. I'm driving through New Mexico right now. There's cops hiding all over the place. Arizona, cops were hiding all over the place, all over the place. So I just lost my train of thought. So I'll come right back to it. So Grover Cleveland's going to get into office after there being Republican after Democrat, Republican after Republican, because you got to switch them. The Republicans and Democrats don't switch positions until John F. Kennedy's assassinated in 63 and Lyndon Johnson then pushes through the Civil Rights Act. And at that point, Republicans become Democrats and Democrats become Republican ideologically. Because before 1963, Democrats were part of the KKK. So when Grover Cleveland gets in, he does, just so you know, his first term in office, and I don't know why I'm going off by Grover Cleveland, just dump my brain out as I drive. And the very first thing that you find out about Grover, if you study him, is that he vetoes 450, something like that, acts of Congress that they have pushed through the legislature. And Grover Cleveland goes, nope, we don't need that. We don't need that. And he says, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And so, but the reason why I brought him up is because, and just so you know, I'm running for office, and they say when he announces that he's going to run for mayor of, I think he runs for mayor of New York first. He wins the mayor, and then he wins the governor, the mayor of a town, and then he's the governor, and then he is elected president within 3 years of entering into public office. Now, there's some dark stuff about Grover. He was a lynchman. He pulled the actual gallows that hung people. He was a lawyer. He worked as a sheriff. He did all these things. But the reason why I'm bringing him up is because Grover Cleveland is one of those guys that the reason he's elected to office is because the people, and at that time, by the way, he's running as a Democrat, as part of the against the blacks, I guess you would say. But the people of America, the bulk of the people of America, are so sick of Republican corruption that they're willing to vote in a Democrat for the first time in, I think it's 7 terms or 8 terms, I can't remember. So, but there's been nobody elected who's a Democrat for 30 years or 32 years or 28 years. And then when he gets into office, the reason he's elected is because the people are so sick of government corruption and pork barrel spending, where these politicians, and remember, just so you know, at this time, senators are still being appointed. And when senators are being appointed, that's what starts and creates the Lochner era of the Supreme Court, when the Senate is colluding with big businesses to give all the breaks to big businesses and crush the little man. So I couldn't help but run a parallel with what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Because unless we get someone, and I'm just going to, unless I get into executive power or someone like myself gets into executive power, we're in trouble. It's not going to get better. It will not get better. And then I'll just finish the information about Grover, so you guys have a little bit more information about him. Just so you know, when you really understand Grover Cleveland, the parallels to Trump are incredible, because I do believe that unless the Republicans don't allow Trump to win, to be the nominee, Trump will be president again in 2026, 2024. So I think Grover Cleveland and President Trump have a lot in common. They have a lot in common. When Trump first got out of office, I was like, man. And then Melania Trump, when she left the White House, she said some snarky comment to the staff as she was leaving the White House, like, hey, we'll be back in 4 years. Melania did. You can look it up in the media. And ironically, here's the super ironic part about that. Grover Cleveland's wife, Frances Folsom, he marries her. He's 49, she's 21. They get married. He's 27 or 28 years older. And just to give you all the dirt on Grover, just so you understand all the dirt on Grover Cleveland. He married he had a law partner who was named Oscar Folsom, I believe. And Oscar Folsom dies when they start their law practice, very young. He dies like 40, not before that, in his late 20s or early 30s. And so Grover Cleveland kind of takes his widow under his wing and helps his widow get through that hard part of life after your husband's died. And he even buys her daughter her first crib. And the daughter of his ex-law partners who dies, the name of the daughter who he buys the crib for is named Frances Folsom. Yeah. He marries his own it wasn't his daughter, but he was the benefactor. She was the beneficiary of Grover Cleveland's money. So he marries her in the White House, by the way. He's the only president in U.S. history to ever marry someone in the White House, just so you know. And the press initially has a field day with the idea that Grover's marrying a girl who's 22, 21, 22, and he's 49. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. I mean, could you imagine today? I'm 47. Could you imagine? Where's my Frances Folsom? But I require a certain amount of intellect, so you know. But that would be nice, right? As far as because then when he marries her in 1896, then what happens is they stay in the White House from 1895 to 1885 to 1888, and then they lose to Benjamin Harrison. And then when they leave the White House, boom, pregnant. She gets pregnant real quick. So when they go back into the White House in 1893, she's got 2 or 3 kids with her at this point. And at first, there was a lot of judgment about Grover marrying this girl who's 27, 28 years younger than him. But then Frances Folsom becomes this gigantic personality. She's a rose petal that, she's a rose that blooms in front of America. And so Frances Folsom, Cleveland, darling of media, because she's 23, 24 years old. And just so you know, there was a study that I read one time about Aborigines. And what they did, they went to the Aborigines who hadn't had very little contact with man. And they were in the middle of the Amazon. Maybe I'm conflating, but the point is they went to the middle of nowhere where they met with this tribe that didn't have any interaction with mankind. And they showed the tribe cutouts of women. They show them wood cutouts of women, the shapes of women is what they did. And every single different tribe that they showed them to all picked the same shape of a woman. So then we fast forward now to current times, and they did a study to find out when they felt women were the most attractive. And because my first sociological study was hypersexual situations within social cliques, I did a 10-year study on this. I wrote 2 textbooks. And what they found from that study was that the average age where men find women the most attractive is 23 years old. So then you just take that analysis and you add it to Grover Cleveland's situation with Frances Folsom. Frances Folsom comes into the White House at 22. She goes back into the White House at 6. So she's in the prime of her beauty years that men find women the most attractive. Well, just so you know, in 1885 and 1893, women press, there's 0 women press. All press are men. So that's why she becomes a media darling, because she's a bombshell, she's beautiful, and she's articulate because she's the daughter of a former lawyer, and she's been her benefactor has been this brilliant man named Grover Cleveland, who, and then I'm just going to give you guys all, and then just so you know, he's renowned as this amazing honest man. And then when he runs for White House, they find out he has an illegitimate child that he has not taken credit for or claimed. And then what he does, Grover, being the slick guy he is, he then says, you know what? It's true. I have a daughter. What's her name again? So he has a daughter with it's gonna bug me. She writes a book later, by the way. She writes a book about having Grover's child who he had nothing to do with. I don't know if you had to pay child support back in 1885 or 1893, but he had fathered that child in like 1874. So you know, the kid at this point in 1885, the kid is around 11, 12, 13, 14. And then when he goes back into office, when he's reelected in office in 1893, that child that he has bastardized, fathered, that child's in his teen years. I can't remember if it's a boy or a girl. I'm just giving you guys recollection stuff here I have in my head. But the things I'm telling you are true. And so then here's the parallels to Trump. The parallels to Trump are just incredible. And I think that Grover Cleveland, and just so you know, when you study the presidents and you study Supreme Court justices, you find out that the presidents are all related. So I think Grover Cleveland's cousin is Ulysses Grant, who will be president as well. So, and then you also have, I'm not going to get lost on that. I'm going to stay on Grover because I can show you a bunch of different people who are related as president. And so Grover Cleveland is known as this. Now, Trump is not known as that, but Grover Cleveland is known as this honest guy who's always going to tell the truth. And they find out he's got a bastard kid and that he didn't pay for and had nothing to do with. Meanwhile, though, the benefactor of his finances is Oscar Folsom's widow and her daughter, Frances Folsom, who he then pays to raise and then marries her right out of college at 21. It marries her at the White House. And back then, just so you guys know, it was all about writing letters. So Grover Cleveland is writing letters to Frances Folsom when she's in college and and courting her, sending her flowers. Now, look, Grover, when he's courting Frances, he and I are the same age at that point. So I live in Hollywood, California. Where you live, it might not be okay to date girls in their 20s, but where I live in Hollywood, it's perfectly fine. So it's kind of weird just seeing the parallels. But now, it's so strange because when I was in Arizona for a little while, I remember meeting a girl and her asking me, how old are you anyway? It's kind of like, you're too old for me. But then in Hollywood, you can meet girls in their 20s and it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. So where is my Frances Folsom? My starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I may, I wish I might. I'm a man, flesh and bone. Don't punish me for being honest. So now those parallels are just insane because I do believe that unless the Republicans somehow block Trump from running, he'll win. He'll be president again, 2024, because we've just had a really, you want to compare and contrast the presidents, Trump and Biden. I don't want to split the room in half here. I'm just telling you guys what I think and how. Remember what I talk about all the time is how history is cyclical. History always repeats itself. Well, you're talking about history repeating itself again. We're about to see the same thing happen with Grover Cleveland. We're about to see the exact same thing happen that happened with Grover Cleveland. And Melania, when she left the White House, she made a snarky comment to the staff that she was coming back. When Frances Folsom left the White House in 1888, because he was elected in 1885. It was the election of 1884, so he's elected in 85. I guess it would be 1888 or 1889 because he's back in the White House in 1893. And so Frances Folsom, remember, she's just this young babe, 23, 20. She gets married in the White House at 21 or 22 in 1886. So they leave the White House. So she couldn't be 23 or 24 years old. And when she leaves the White House, she says to the staff at the door as they're exiting, she says, hey, make sure that furniture doesn't get stained. We're going to be back in 4 years. And she was correct. But she comes back now, this time with kids. She's got a bunch of kids because she was fertile. Women, just so you guys know, women lose fertility around 35. They don't lose fertility, but the bulk of eggs in your body are 95% gone at 35. I think they're 80% or 85% gone at 30 years old. So part of me makes me think that Grover Cleveland wanted to marry someone young because he wanted to have children. And then Grover Cleveland, the scandal that Grover Cleveland has is having that child out of wedlock. And then the second scandal that Grover Cleveland has, and I'm just giving you guys some back history here so that we can be a well-rounded audience and well-rounded group of people, well-rounded team of people, because we certainly have to be a team here. And, you know, by the way, we got to get to 100,000 subscribers. So please recruit some friends. We got to get to 100,000 subscribers. I should have started off with that. I need to be more adamant about growing on social media. I need to be just like these people. Like, comment, share, like, comment, share. There are auditors who only audit because they want views and likes and comments. And they are so great about saying, you know, share, like, subscribe. And it's just because that's their goal. My goal is to take executive power to overturn Terry and make the Supreme Court electable. So now, with this information you have, now I would recommend that you guys start a deep dive into Grover Cleveland so that you can see the parallels between Grover Cleveland and Donald Trump, because they are astounding. They are absolutely astounding. I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Welcome to Albuquerque. Welcome to. Oh shoot, I still have my headphones on. Sorry guys. I was listening to someone's story. Who. The story I heard today wasn't so the stories I'm hearing are horrific from people. So the reason I went into Grover was I don't know, my ADHD. So the story I heard today, listening to that gentleman's story, it wasn't as hard as listening to the story I heard yesterday, where I had to continually tell the person's, hey, come back on track. I'm trying to get your story chronologically. Please stop going off on tangents. You know, I got to get it step by step by step by step by step. That's what has to happen. I need it every single. 1 second, I got to lay there. But I'm in Albuquerque here. I'm going to pull over here and grab a. Can you guys hear those directions when it goes through my headphones? Can you guys hear because I have the directions going through my headphones. I'm not sure. Oh, there's a Starbucks. Yes, I need a triple espresso so bad. So bad. So bad. So I'm starting a third party. That's why I started this East Coast trip early. I was actually going to stay on the West Coast and watch my nephew go to his state tournament, which is this coming weekend. I'm going to miss it because I have a bigger mission in life. And I had to weigh my options in my head big time. I want to see my 6-year-old nephew win the state tournament. He's going to win the state tournament this year. He'll be a state champion at 6 in Nevada. But the thing is there's too many people in Brookside, Alabama, and Hot Springs, Arkansas, and up in Ohio in 2 different counties, and in Texas, who need my help. They need their stories to be exposed, and they need their stories to be told properly so that they're digestible. And I've been watching my friends. Disorderly Product News, Brian from High Impact Flicks, and here's the deal, ASD Docs and Lackluster. Now, just so you guys know, you're going to see my format slightly change when I do videos now, because now I know how the formula works. People want a reporter, and that's okay. I used to have a real, I guess you can kind of see my face kind of when I initially said that, because I'm not a reporter. I'm a game changer. There's a big difference. And so that's what people want, though, to get views and likes and subscribers and comments. So what I'll do is anybody here who brings over a new subscriber, I will give you guys a $15 off the hard copy trifold, meaning I will make $0 on that hard copy trifold, but then you'll get one. So anybody who brings a new subscriber and they subscribe and you say, I referred this person, I will give you a $15 off coupon for the hard copy trifold. That's what I'll do. So I don't make a dime on it, but we get more subscribers. I don't give, I care. I care deeply. So that's where it is. That's where it is. So that's what I wanted to get on and talk about today. I have a lot more people to talk to on the phone. I promised a lot of people who've been contacting me over the past several weeks that I would return their phone call and talk about their case so I can see if there's a civil rights lawsuit. And just so you know, Rich, the broker, who was beat up by the cops and horrific. Apparently, he may have some problems. He may have some problems filing his civil litigation because of the witnesses, because the police intimidated the witnesses and put words in their mouth. And then the words they put in their mouths at the time of the incident are now the words that they're repeating. And so Rich is going to have a hard time with his federal lawsuit. And he sent me a text. He sent me 30 texts the other day. And it took me 10 minutes to read his text. And it's just really sad. Remember, don't talk to police. If you're a witness, don't talk to police. Don't talk to police. Do not talk to police. Don't talk to them. Don't talk to cops. For the love of God. Can you guys hear that? Did you guys hear the directions just now? Because I can usually go the directions through my phone. Did you guys hear that? I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Did you guys hear those directions? I see you, dude. I see you. In a quarter mile here. Okay. So, okay. So the three things that were super important to me to get across today were, number one, I don't want you guys to talk to cops. I want you to use the Trifold or put a card in your pocket that says, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right. I'm not going to speak. I don't want you guys. The problem that we're having with all of the cases that I'm listening to their story is they talked. They talked. Now I know why my friends, the Pot Brothers of Law, now I know why my buddies are always so adamant about not talking to cops. And that is Mark Wasserman's catchphrase, STUF. Shut the up. Shut up. That is Mark Wasserman's phrase, and I want to give him full credit. I think he trademarked it. You know, shut the up, right? And I'm going to do better. And I saw on that okay. So I saw that in that debate when those guys were cursing, because I watched back the debate when we premiered it live, and when people curse, it sounds terrible. It sounds terrible. It sounds really bad when people curse. It's not impressive at all. Not impressive at all. Yeah, that someone just mentioned the ASD Docs video with Susan Bassey. When you hear how corrupt, and by the way, in the new political platform that I've written, Susan Bassey, full credit to you, but it was already written. I've already written it, that cameras go in every court, that you have the right to record every court, that you have the right to audio record every court. And that's what I wrote in the new party platform. And then she says it on the ASD Docs interview. She says, my goal in life is to make sure there's a camera in every single courtroom in America. Yeah. And I was like, I already wrote that, but she's announcing it out loud. And I couldn't be happier to hear that, because until we get transparency, and they talk about in that court case about how in the ASD Docs interview, they talk about how they created for-profit judges in the criminal justice system where they get paid exorbitant fees, 3, 4, 5 times what a judge should be paid. It's really sad, really sad, really sad. So I'm here at this coffee shop. I'm not actually, and I'm gonna do what I got to do here, but I'll wrap this up for you guys. So if I talk to you on the phone, please remember, I'll read your email, and I'll and I assess in my head whether or not there's been a civil rights violation of your case. And then from there, when we talk, I need you to stay on a chronological order of your story. Chronological order. Stay on that path. What happened at 1 o'clock? What happened at 1:05 p.m.? What happened at 1:15 p.m.? What happened at 1:25 p.m.? What happened at 2 o'clock p.m.? And then you went home the next day. Was there any interaction? Did the cops call you? Any interaction with your public defender? What did the public defender say to you? What did you say back? Did you submit evidence? Did you file a complaint? Did you get a FOIA request? I have a million questions. And when we talk, I just need you to answer the questions and go down the path, or you'll find out that I really am a hard charging, incredibly gigantic dick. If I'm not getting what I need, I will go, I need this, right? And my, you know what my famous saying is, right? You know what it takes to make a beautiful baby? A hard dick. So That's as much as I'm going to curse or as vulgar as I'm going to be, but it's true. But it's true. So there's that. And then the last thing I'll say, and then I'll get out of here. Do not talk to police. Do not. You pull this out and it says right there, I invoke my Fifth Amendment right, and you do not talk to cops. Please. These people are in trouble because they talked. A lot of them are in trouble because they talked. As a matter of fact, the couple people in Ohio, they're in trouble because they went and filed a complaint on a cop who had stole their property. And then it started a retaliation cycle that has not ended yet and is still ongoing. They went to the police department and they talked. I'm just telling you, whether or not you're reporting that the cops stole your stuff or not, you're talking to cops. And when they went to the police department and they reported that cops had sold their property, the cops have then been targeting them now for 2 years. So that's why I'm going to go up to Ohio. I'm not going to put up with it. We have a channel here. We have a bunch of rabid people, and we don't stop. So anybody here who brings a new subscriber, I will give you a $15 off coupon for the Trifold, and that's the hard copy that I ship out. So anybody who brings a new subscriber here, I will give you guys a $15 off coupon for the Trifold. I won't make any dollars on that, but I don't care. We have to get as many subscribers as we can possibly. Make sure you like. And when I get off this live, I need everybody in here, all 140 people, hit your like button. But then as soon as I get off here, I'm asking you guys, please go to this video when it posts and start writing comments. Just start writing comments. Write comment, 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 comment. I don't care if you comment 5 times. Hey, Chille, I wanted to comment. Next comment. Just let you know that I commented a second ago, and then go down again. Hey, man, I'm commenting again. We got to get like rabid about it, because we're not going to win executive power by being passive. We're not going to win executive power by saying, oh, can we get into executive power? No, I'm not a weeping willow. I'm not soft. I'm not a limp biscuit. That's not who I am. And I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to remain the person that I am. And that's what I'm going to do. So when I get out of here, when this video posts, go to the comment section of this video, like it, and then drop some comments. Have conversations with each other. Have conversations with each other. Hey, did you hear what he said about Grover Cleveland? And then drop facts. Grover Cleveland's born in 1837. He dies in 1908. Grover Cleveland is the first Democrat elected in 30 years. Grover Cleveland's wife is named Frances Folsom. She's 21, 22 when she gets married in the White House in the Blue Room. Frances Folsom was the daughter of Oscar Folsom, who was Grover Cleveland's previous law partner. I'm just dropping facts so that you guys can drop down in the comment section some facts. All right. Share this video, comment, like, subscribe. Anybody who brings a new subscriber and they say, I'm a subscriber from Rick Pood, Luke Skunk, Michael Rollins, Chuck Derby, Paul Lau. Paul Lau, I sent you the tracking number for your sweatshirt, by the way. Oh, I restructured. I've got a few sweatshirts left, a few t-shirts left. They're mostly gone, but I've got a few. I got to call Gavin and let him know that I gave some away as a donation as well to people who wanted them but didn't have any cash. So I did that. So do me a favor, you guys, like, share, subscribe, and I appreciate it. I got to get the flock out of here. I'll jump back on maybe later today, but I probably won't. I got 3 more people to call today who were cheated by the police. So those 3 people who I'm going to call, please, chronological order, baby. Chronological order. Okay. All right. I'll get the flock out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Hit the like button. Make sure you comment when I leave here and share this video with other people. Share it. Share it on your Facebook page. Share it on your Twitter page. Share it on your Instagram page. We got to get to 100,000 subs. That's our first benchmark. All right. I'm out of here. Later, guys.